What up? What up? Thanks for tapping into the Sneaker History Podcast. My name's Nick Engvall, and I've spent the last 18 years working in the footwear business, helping companies like Complex, Finish Line, and StockX better connect with their customers. More importantly, helping sneakerheads turn their passion for sneakers into opportunities in the industry. I started Sneaker History nearly 13 years ago as a way for me and my friends in the sneaker world to have a place to talk about the business without the influence of corporate footwear giants telling us what to say or telling us what sneakerheads, I'm using air quotes there, should be featured in our content or invited to be on the show. It's with that spirit we're charging forward thanks to all of you who have recently donated to help cover the costs of keeping the podcast going. If you feel like chipping in, you can find all the info you need in the description or by joining our Discord community, which is linked below. I'm looking forward to taking the show to new levels in the coming months, with more guests from the community, talks with industry professionals, and deeper dives into the sneaker stories that shape this obsession we are all so passionate about. One last thing before we get into the episode. Do the right thing and tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a compliment will take you, and we all know how good it feels to be on the receiving end of some appreciation.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a oh, LeBron James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win.
Iverson against Gill, the crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What is good, everyone? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name's Nick, with my guys, Mike and Robbie. Talk about some kicks, talk a little rocking and copping, talk about some big news that happened today. John Donahoe from Nike is no longer CEO as of October 14th. So, yeah, it's been an interesting week, and glad to be back together with the guys. How you guys been? I feel like since Robbie made this change over from Apple to Android, we kind of like had a disconnect. So we're like kind of just the Voltron's finally forming again.
Yeah, I thought he hated us for a minute. I was like, well, fine then.
Did you guys just think I didn't want to respond back? I just didn't care anymore.
No, I never put two and two together because I still talk to you on Instagram. I just never put two and two together why he never was responding. I just wasn't paying attention.
Well, and I had texted you because when I saw you, you told me about switching over. So I kind of knew, but I had texted you separately like a few days after. So I knew, I just assumed that it was working the whole way through, right?
We're
like,
oblivious. That's all it is. We're oblivious.
See,
it's just big corporate hateration going on, basically.
It's left versus right, poor versus rich. They want you to be Apple versus Samsung. And what's honestly annoying is that everybody I tell or sees my new phone, they're like, brother, ugh. Like they're visibly disgusted. And I watched a YouTube video about this, like the ecosystem of Apple and how they really pioneered the planned obsolescence. Like, much like Donahue will be talking about, these big brands we love don't always have the best streaks, right? I think Apple's probably at their peak money-making wise, but like the Apple product is kind of
yeah.
And that's kind of a foreshadow for some of the episode. I'll stop there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Totally.
Totally.
Mike, how's the channel going? We haven't updated folks on the YouTube progress for a while.
No, it's going. Dude, I feel like I'm running on fumes a little bit because I'm trying to put something out at least 4 days out of the 7 days of a week. And
damn.
If anyone doesn't know, I work a normal 9 to 5, so that is a task. So
not to mention you have kids and a wife and like a life.
And I'm just like, yeah, next thing I see me, I'm gonna be full gray. But it's good because I'm trying to invest more in the shorts because I've noticed now that the shorts bring people in, and they'll just kind of get stuck playing around in your channel trying to see different things. So they're going well.
That's cool.
So I can't complain, and I'm trying to focus on the joy of the content as opposed to the numbers. Because I look at the numbers, I get ticked off because I'm like, we can't do that. So
same, man.
Yeah,
same.
But good. Overall good.
Like I was saying before we started recording, like, downloads on the podcast are up, so shout out to everybody that's been listening, tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Yeah. I also asked Mike about the channel because I figure that's a good leeway into rocking and copping because I think he's probably going to pull out a shoe that we saw
definitely
on his Instagram today or on his YouTube today.
Definitely.
So why don't you start us off, man?
Yeah, so my copping, I haven't put them on yet, I just came in, would be the J Tips and Saucony Pro Grid Omni 9, the to-do list, the pink, purple, blue color that came out in the pack. I guess for today, for us recording, it's the day before the release, so super cool. I love this model shoe, and then I love what J Tips does. Again, me and you talked about that, Nick, just how that partnership is done super well. Very notable now, kind of in the big name of sneaker collaborations, I feel like. So shout out to Jason, shout out to Saucony for sending this pair over my way. But rocking, I mean, I just took them off my feet, Nano 2, just get a little workout in, try to stay kind of fit around here. So that's my rocking, my copping, and then yeah, what you guys got going on?
Mike, if the listeners didn't know, you're like Dolly Parton with a dingle. Like, you have a dangle. You work really hard, 9 to 5, respect the hustle.
I laugh harder because my kids, when I came, I ran to the grocery store, they were watching the latest Trolls, and just so happened that song was playing on one of their little sing-alongs. So it was a perfect time, Robbie.
Mike's looking at his kids. That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
All day.
Well, I guess speaking of kids, I rock this shoe a weird amount. It's the Woodstock Chuck 70. I like it because it has the cool little Charlie Brown print on the bottom.
Oh, that's cool.
It says Peanuts on the inside around the tongue here, and then it has Woodstock on the All-Star license plate, I call them, whatever you want to call it. But just this kind of stuff is why I'll always kind of circulate back to Chuck's. There's a Transformers collab that's coming out soon for the new Transformers movie dropping. That's not a paid collab. I just like Transformers and I like Converse. So it's like they keep doing stuff like that I love. When it comes to copping, I'm going to go 2 weird directions. Direction 1 is, why are the Vans Sailor Moon shoes so expensive on the secondary market? Like 2 years later, I went down a rabbit hole a couple days ago. It's like, you know what? I've been rewatching Sailor Moon. What?
We talked about those a long time ago. I thought you bought those.
I wanted them. I did not execute, and I still haven't executed a purchase yet in 2024. So I'm like, I almost broke it for the Sailor Moon Vans, but they wanted like $90 for a pair of Eras, and I'm like, man, tripping. And then I almost bought the Ultra Boost X5. I had them in my hand in the store, and then like the weirdest guilt overcame me, so I didn't buy them. I really just like. A guilt kicked in. I was like, I don't need these shoes.
Wait, what was the guilt?
It was the guilt of spending money on something I know I didn't need.
Okay, there we go.
And you're so close, right? Even if you're like, I'm just going to buy it all in January, you've made it like 9 months of the year. So no point in breaking it now for those. Because those shoes, the Ultra Boosts actually are like one of the most interesting shoes to me right now. I'm like super tempted. But they're going to go down in price. You'll be able to get them cheaper.
They were at the employee store, so they were $90. So that's why I was like so compelled. I was like, Dead Stock Run Club had a little event, so I already tried these on and know they're comfortable. They're 50% off. I like this colorway. They're right here next to my house.
Dude, Nick, by March of next year, we're going to be like, where's Robbie? He's on a sneaker bender somewhere just buying them.
Man, I cannot see it. I really cannot see myself doing it. Because I'm like wearing these Chucks 2-3 days in a row. But all that to say, I'm not going to commit to it. But the Bad Bunny Gazelle Indoor, like the last couple Bad Bunny shoes have been cool. And I have some of the Chunkies, but like they're really not it. And I've purposely been ignoring the Gazelle just because it's what people love. The kids nowadays, that story's beat to hell. But just like this pot of Bad Bunny is just really good. It's the kind of stuff where I can see how I'm a hater because the Ama Meunier stuff, I'll comment online like they've rehashed that same motif 15 times in a row. But then I'll be like, oh, these Bad Bunny Gazelles in white and black are really cool. So it's like,
but they all aren't black and white though. That's the thing. I will say this. At least with the Bad Bunny stuff, there's been multiple colors. It hasn't been maroon and black, maroon and white for every one of the shoes that come out.
I mean, I'm a hater, but at least I know that like I don't make any sense sometimes because I'm like, I look at these and I'm like, there's nothing different than like a 16-year-old girl in me if I were to wear these Bad Bunnies. But I feel like that meme of like no one in the corner, like no one knows I'm wearing blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm like no one knows I'm wearing the Bad Bunny gazelles indoor.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like
Yeah, what you
that's kind of how I would feel in theory. They're just super clean, man, and like from Chucks and the Club C's and it's the Superstars I wear all the time and the Dunks. Like I want simple things. Like the J tips you have there. I want him to have all the success on earth. Can ski what I'm about to say for anything less than that. But I can't rock that shoe. Like it's not a good look for me and like my taste. Too many things happening. But like this white and black Bad Bunny that like could be mistaken for any other gazelle on earth really speaks to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like
dude, that's what the beauty of sneakers is though, man. Like everyone has their own taste. Yeah, you love the simple stuff now, man. It's like rock it, man. Kill it.
I think that's like also we're going to get into that in another episode because I feel like people's taste evolves, right? Like you like go on these like ups and downs where like you want either like classics or like Robbie now simple, but like then you have these moments where you're like just give me the weirdest like whatever shoe out there. You know?
I'm gonna pass it to Nick off of that because I wore the LeBron Palmers last week too. So like I still do have some like the itch in me. But you know the thing is, I bought those shoes 2 years ago. So it's just like now I'm like, wear the fucking shoes you bought 2 years ago. It's like a different mindset versus I want to spice it up. It's like buy that crap you already paid money for. It's like my grandma yelling at me.
Oh man,
wear your shoes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I broke out something a little old school today to wear. This is the Crown Royal Reebok Questions. It wasn't actually a Crown Royal collab, but obviously it was a style colorway that inspired by the Crown Royal bags back in the day.
Full of change, you know, like Crown Royal bags are used for.
That'd be nice.
How many old people? We all know somebody in our life over the age of 50 with this like a weird collection of Crown Royal bags.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm not over 50 yet, but I do have the.
Like, dang it, you got me.
No, it's definitely a thing. And then back when that came out, it was kind of like Kings colors, right? It was that era when the Kings were. I hated the gold jerseys, but it is what it is. So I was like, you know, I need to have that shoe. Purple colorway, my favorite shoe. Can't really not have that as a Kings fan, right? So, as far as Coppin goes, I don't have them like in my hand. They're actually out in the living room that they just showed up. I got a pair of the Toronto inspired Air Max 95s, like the folks at Livestock sent it over. So cool. Shout out to them. It's a pretty dope shoe. The colorway is like just perfect, kind of like red, white, and blue, black bottom, like just a great Air Max 95 colorway. So, but the box, I'll put video in here for people that are watching, and maybe I'll make a video for the channel or for the Instagram, but like the box is super dope. It's just got a bunch of different people, like, you know, just the diversity of the city. So, that would be my cop that they sent. Thanks to Livestock. But, yeah, man, I've kind of been on the Robbie side of things lately and trying not to spend any money on things. So hopefully I can hold out for a couple more months and we'll see how it goes. But there's a lot of good stuff out there right now. I just saw in the Discord, forget who posted this, so forgive me, but somebody posted like a bunch of pictures from the Nike outlets recently, and like any retro Jordans you want from the last like 6 months are there. Oh, yeah. So I guess that's a good segue into our first main topic for this show. John Donahoe is out. I don't know, like I feel like anybody in the sneaker community or that listens to this show probably expects it. It seems like we all expected it in the Discord too. So
it was sooner than I expected, though. It was sooner than I thought, because I thought they were going to get to the year end, or at least their fiscal year end, and then he would leave, because typically when they have a transition of power in the middle of a year, something's wrong, and then stock falls further. But apparently stock went up as soon as he announced that he was stepping down on the 13th or 14th of next month. So, hey, whatever produces more shoes and gets stuff where it needs to be, because wasn't he the one who said we want to plug from all small stores and go direct to consumer and all that fun stuff?
He was an eBay exec, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. I think he was at eBay before. Yep. So it's like DTC is eBay's model, but they're direct as every person who owns the individual item, right? But they control the platform, which is what the push to have sneakers be one of the most downloaded apps and used apps for shopping, which it is. It's just you brought up the Jordan Retro any color you want type deal. Like and it wasn't just him, right? The initiatives they were pushing of just really saturating the market. Like, I'll use this example. Who needs the white Thunders? You already did red, you did yellow. Just white looks like you just turned the color saturation off and like you can't see right. And it's the exact same shoe you've seen twice, just with like the textures off, like there's just, so many things like wrong.
And I think the other part of that you're spot on. It's not that people don't want, if people collect, so be it. Buy the white Thunder, buy the blue Thunder, buy the purple Thunder. Like, all those colorways look beautiful. It's a beautiful shoe. A simple colorway like that is great. But to produce mass quantities of that, when you know that like the core audience is no longer buying, Jordan Retros like that, because exactly what you're saying. Like, why do you really need that shoe? If you want a black and white shoe, you're probably wearing, take your pick, right? Like, you probably have Panda Dunks, you probably have black and white ones, you probably have white cement, black cement. Like, you have a lot of options in the Jordan lineup of just simple white and black, or white and black and gray, or whatever. Yeah. And I think that combined with they're trying to go D2C, and like, on paper it looks great. It's like, yeah, we can make this much more money and all that stuff. But I don't think I'm the only person that feels this way, but like, I'm like 10 times more likely to buy a pair of shoes, especially a GR, especially like a shoe that I know is just out there, if I see it in store. Like, I was just actually on a show with Juan Martinez, who does this Too Hard to Pass podcast with Jacques. Mm-hmm. And it was basically explaining how, like, being here in Monterey, there's only one, Foot Locker, and it's really small, and they don't get most of the releases. So I went in there looking for the Gore-Tex Air Max 90 infrareds that came out, I don't know, 6 months ago or 9 months ago or something, because I just wanted to see the shoe in person. I figured I'm going to buy that colorway at some point because I love that colorway. One of my favorite colorways of all time. But to get one in Gore-Tex was like, oh, that'd be cool. Like, it looks pretty standard, but like, to have, it's already raining here, so I'd wear that instead of the ones I'm wearing right now. But they didn't have it. They didn't have it in stock. So like, I never bought that shoe, and I absolutely will at some point. But I think that, like, you can't really measure that in the way that spreadsheets and numbers and money measure that kind of customer. And I don't think I'm the only person that does that. Like, to Robbie's point about walking into the Adidas employee store and seeing those Ultra Boosts, right? Like, there's still just a huge part of the sneaker world, not even just like the sneakerhead community, but like the sneaker buying public, that is in the moment. They're buying it as they see it, because most people don't want to play the game of losing on an app every day. And so, like, even like, think of it like the way that like Mike's probably buying shoes for his kids only when he sees them in the store, and I get that that's like an outlier in terms of like the men's sizing, but that seems to be more and more common. And I think people want to have those experiences, which is why you see a lot of brands that Nike is losing to right now, On, Hoka, Asics, New Balance, they all have like pretty prominent in-person experiences in major cities right now. And it seems like Nike has pulled away from a lot of that stuff.
I mean, it's the days of going into a store and just like trying on a shoe. Like, I'm a big kid. I had Andy on AD Sneaks yesterday. We did a coffee time kicks, and just talking about just going to the store, trying a shoe on, and walking out. Like, when I'm a huge child, I love to put them on immediately, and I don't go to the store often anymore unless I'm like let the kids try stuff on, because their feet are constantly growing. I kind of know what I wear, because I've kind of given up, because every time I walk into a Foot Locker now, even in Houston, it's still hit or miss. It's not, because the Foot Lockers have been like basically sucked dry, because they don't have like the cool House of Hoops anymore. I don't know, just it's not as fun of an experience. I know they're trying to bring it back with these revamps of the Foot Locker store, so hopefully it does. But no, that feeling of being able to actually have it and touch it first has always been something that's been more important for me in the buying process, but I just don't get it anymore, it seems like.
See, that same Foot Locker, you're going into Houston or you're going in Monterey or here in Portland. What I see is the biggest issue with Nike moving away from having some type of formidable presence in each of these kind of retail stores is like you go there and just the Nike wall is just stuffed full of stuff, like stuffed shoes.
Very
There's
true.
15 colors of Air Force Ones. There's 15 colors of Dunks, 15 colors of Air Max 90s, 15 colors, of the Air DN. Then there's this like Jordan retros, like the little like little circular pillar like displays, like
Yeah.
where like Halo products go, like aspirational products go. There's like 5 different retros sitting on it. And that's not at all a bad thing, but that just shows that people aren't excited for your product if you can stack 5 different retro products on top of each other and make a little pyramid on a display that typically has a shoe that might have 5 sizes left or 4 sizes left. And you feel like, wow, I walked in today and I'm happy I walked in today because I found the last size 12 in the area, right? Nike.com doesn't have it. Footlocker.com doesn't have it. I found one in store. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like that cool feeling is gone. Some of it's come back with the Kobe thing. Like I saw the Team Bank Kobe colorways. Those are sitting a little bit in some markets. But then like the cynic in me kicks in and I'm like, damn, we're really at a place in footwear where people like are excited for Team Bank Kobe's. Like I'm not going to name any names because I follow a lot of like Kobe accounts online, but seeing people get pissed off or annoyed that they didn't get the red Team Bank Kobe 8 retro. And I'm like, good brother, you have Kobe's back there that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. You have some illustrious pairs and you're like, damn, I didn't get a red Team Bank shoe. Like you from 2010 would slap yourself if you were getting pissy about not getting to spend $180 on a Team Bank shoe. Like
That's a $70 shoe in 2010. Like
if
70
even.
Yeah.
If even.
Red tag, blue tag, whatever it was on sale.
But Nike not having those, well, Eastbay doesn't exist anymore, but like those type of outlets where like you can post and you can produce 10 different Team Bank colorways of a Kobe 8, release them all at once and have them just get eaten up from schools from elementary to college because they're affordable, they're easy to get, and they're great, comfortable basketball shoes. Like it's Donahoe isn't responsible for everything bad at all, but his job was kind of to cut costs, streamline, try to influx more money, and to lay off half of Beaverton, and just to like make the kind of dramatic moves that they didn't want a long-term, seasoned, loved. I believe the new person taking the helm is like a 32-year Nike veteran. You don't want to put that 32-year-old career Nike veteran in a place where he's the bad guy. You want to bring in somebody from the Big Brother like company to have him make all the moves because he's going to get that exit package, make millions, and then just go run something else. So like Donahoe is kind of just the fall guy, or was the fall guy, and now, knock on wood, someone with 32 years of Nike passion and experience, we hope they still feel that passion, can bring that back to the product instead of just releasing a white Kobe shoe once a year and saying like, man, we miss Kobe. Here's a fucking white shoe again. Like what it feels like enjoy your white sneaker. Angels are white. Like you get it. Like you get it.
Dude, that shoe is going to be, I mean, I want the low top pair, but that shoe just, as soon as air touches it, it's going to be disgusting.
But it's like
it's going to be gross.
It's been I think this is literally the 5th Halo or fourth or fifth Halo, where it's like, I don't know how I don't have another way of saying it other than somebody sitting in a room and being like, you know what, Angels are white. Let's make these shoes white. Like he's dead. It's A to B to C thinking roll out a product. Yeah. So hopefully someone with that experience brings more complex product thinking.
We'll have better relationships with the athletes or estates, I should say, in the case of Kobe.
Yeah, I think with the Kobe stuff, it's also like they're trying to appease a broader audience than they ever have with the Kobe stuff. So, like the people that want to collect Kobe's now, to your point, they didn't buy that team bank colorway in 2010, 2011, but now that they think that they can't get those colorways, they want to collect all the Kobe's they can because there's this, phony scarcity about the shoes, like as if they're going to never come back again. And I think that's a part of the problem. And I think also just in the, like you said about the products, right? Like it's almost like they're like, oh, well, let's just do another one. So the people that bought the first 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 will continue to buy this colorway, right? Yeah. I feel like that's the same thing. Not that I don't like the colorways, because I feel like the reverse Grinch and all the reverse everything that we see is the same kind of thing, right? It's like, it's good as a colorway. It's lazy as a storyline to me. But like, also I understand that all these people have to balance fucking spreadsheets at the end of the day and figure out how to make, X amount of dollars in order to keep their jobs. Like it's a shitty situation. But I think it's really interesting about like, Elliot Hill, the new like incoming CEO, he left Nike in 2020. So I'm really curious if he left Nike because he didn't agree with the direction that things were going to go when they chose to go with with John Donahoe. Because, to Robbie's point, like you don't necessarily want somebody to come in and like wreak havoc on a company and then, like you don't want like an OG or like you don't want a Mark Parker or a Tinker or an Aaron Cooper or any of these old school guys that had been there for decades, because then they leave a negative, vibe with everybody that they've had in contact with because they go out on a bad note. But I also think that with John Donahoe, I think that if the D2C thing had worked, Nike would be a completely different company. But ultimately, it comes back to like you want to have that sneaker community. Like you talked about it with Matt on the show a few episodes back. Like we might not line up for shoes every week, but this conversation that we've had for the past 5 years is our version of that, and the Discord is our version of meetups, and like being up in Portland and like getting to meet up at Index and Deadstock, and like the community aspect of sneakers is like alive and well. It's just not fed to executives that are making decisions, in my opinion. And I think that's the biggest miss that Nike's had, because even pre-pandemic, like they used to do and they still do this, but they did those community stores, right? When we were living in LA, they did one in Melrose that was like super cool, innovative. You could run on a treadmill, try all the new stuff, but they only kept it open for a year. It was just like, okay, we're just testing it out. And then, they closed down the store, and then they do another one. They've done them all over the place. But like, that is like a great way to have a retail presence and have a community presence in all these cities. But it's also like a terrible experience for fans of the brand like myself that like literally lived around the corner, and one day it's just like, hey, store's gone. And, like, not that I was spending tons of money in that store, but I felt way more connected to the brand at that moment than I ever did living, someplace in a bigger city, or maybe not a bigger city, but like in a place that had like a bigger Nike store, like New York or the Nike Town era of Nike stores, I guess.
I feel like we talk about what if it worked. I think if people got the quality shoe that they thought they were getting, and it wasn't so many factory flaws, I think it probably could have worked, possibly. Because again, it came at a perfect time when this all happened to transition during COVID. But then the biggest complaint was, why is, like, there's so many things wrong with these more, like you say, the aspirational product. Like, you weren't getting a person complaining about my Air Force Ones, they're fine, but the light was really shining on those Jordan product, the Air Max product. Why is my stuff like not centered? Why is my shoe leaning? Why is it the stitching wrong? So I feel like that was part of the problem of it not working, because people were just expecting to get something wrong. And now, like you said, I want to go in and see it before I give you my $200, because let's be honest, I'm giving you a ridiculous amount of money for a pair of shoes at this point. I want at least halfway decent.
See, it's like the footwear version of shrinkflation. It's like you want to sell the same product to somebody charge them a little more and make it a little cheaper. So like that margin just gets that much bigger. Not to like go back to the Bad Bunny, but to directly compare the Bad Bunny, $140 for the Bad Bunny collab. Mm-hmm. The Benitos. Love them. $140 though. That's $110 less than the Amamaniers, I believe. I think they're $250, at least $220, $250.
$250 retail, and they set.
Man, but the leather is going to be good, if not better. I mean, it's not going to be the best leather on earth, but I will guarantee you that $140 price point leather is going to be nicer than a $220 retro product with a glue issue and a stitching issue. Not that Adidas doesn't have issues too. Like each brand, it's impossible to make a perfect shoe. But to Mike's point, I've bought countless Jordan products where it's just flawed and I deal with it because I'm going to wear it anyway, whatever. But like the price is getting so like that shrinkflation is getting so stretched. Like, why am I going to spend $250 when I can spend $140? And I feel like a product that looks better on my foot.
Well, especially like exactly what you're saying, especially when you think about like how good like the quality of like the reimagined, threes, fours were, and then you're paying almost the same price for those White Thunders, right? It just doesn't make sense. I think too, like, there's a little bit of a gap there between like the Gazelle being like a simpler model, right? Like they probably retail is probably like $100 on that shoe regularly. So they add like, $40 or $30 on it. The Jordan, what was like the Jordan 1 collabs? Like something like Nama Manier.
Oh, 190,
like 160? Oh, is that high?
They already broke. They had already gotten up to past like the 180 regular mark. So I think they were like 190 or 200, which I can't justify ever buying a Jordan 1 for. Like 180 hurts me. That's why I don't even buy them that like anymore. I buy the lows for 130.
I mean, I paid $250 for like worn a couple times pair of shattered backboards. Like nothing can touch that. I'll never spend that much on hardly any shoes again. And that's like the perfect colorway for me, like 100%, the best Jordan 1 to me. And that kind of sucks because like that's a part of the problem that they have to figure out, which I wouldn't want to be the person in charge of figuring it out, because how are you going to try to sell shoes anywhere in the 200 up range when like people are actively buying New Balance, On, Saucony for significantly less in most cases, and getting like in hand, it feels way better than most retro product at that price.
Oh yeah.
So here's an example of it going right. Here's a really good direct example. The Travis Scott Air Force 1 retailed at $150. I feel like that's a really good comparison in terms of like artist and model. A Gazelle doing Air Force 1, Bad Bunny to Travis Scott. And like those Travis Scott Air Force 1s, there's a reason why they're like $1,300 on resale, because they were done right. That's so like, and that's a big frustrating part of this Donahoe era, where it's like the product that is really good and is priced right and is made correctly, completely unobtainable. And it's like, why? Like, why? I know why, but like rhetorically, why?
Yeah. I mean, we hope for better. I mean, I don't know what better is, because again, it still has to, Nick said it earlier, you got to fill in the spreadsheet. So what does better look like?
That's a fantastic segue, Mike. I mean, Nick, do you have a thought? Because that's like, what is better is a great thing to the Kyrie Anta stuff. Because it's like, why can't the Kyrie Anta stuff be better? What's limiting it? Is it just like perception? I would say yes. But like that new Anta stuff, shout out to Jacques Slade. Been posting all like the invite he had out there. That shit looks good, and it's like probably cheaper than Nike. I'll pass it to you too. But like, can it be better? Why not?
Oh, his basketball shoes. I haven't bought a pair yet, but not only have I been interested in his line, but it's made me look at the other Anta basketball shoes out there. Price wise, everything looks solid. I don't think anything is more than $160 on that website. And I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was going to dive in through some of the other stuff, the model he was wearing before he got his own signature. They're still making those and like PE colorways from him. Super dope. There's even a Kobe inspired one that they released that I think still sitting around, which is really nice. His Hella, what's the shoe? I can't remember the name of the new one his coming out. Cool, like
It's that goddess
skate-
who had it. It's Helava or something like that.
Yeah,
The
it's
twin
like this
flame
really cool
one? Is that one?
No, not that one. So there's I'll pull up for you a second the Kobe one, but the twin flame was the one his dad designed with him.
Okay, that's the one that's the one I saw a bunch of photos of just recently, right? Comes out later this month, I think.
Yeah, but it's the Kyrie, it's the Kai Speed, so it takes the strap off and stuff. So it's his second model. Yeah. But they all look good, and they sell out like this. And even now they kind of slowed down, and people are able to get their hands on them. They're still selling. Like, they're still not a full size one if I go look around somewhere for them. And they sell them at places like, it's not like a Foot Locker, but I go look at Extra Butter. I look at Sneaker Politics. They're selling them at those really the cool places, if for lack of a better word, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a huge gap in the market right now. Nike's been slacking, you know, like there's not energy around a lot of the products. And I get that Kyrie is, you know, yeah, there's to some extent, like he's a bit of a wild card because of some of his opinions and some of the things he's said and done over the past, you know, number of years. But on the flip side of that, Nike has Ja Morant, who is exactly the same. So they kind of just traded places in a sense. But Kyrie has obviously, looking at Jacques' Instagram recently, Soul Retrievers out there, like those, there's so many people. Like, it reminds me of Kobe in China 10, 15 years ago, you know, like it's a crazy amount of people that are really into this. And like, I would be too if I was living over there and I was from China, right? Like, you're getting like one of the best basketball players, arguably, of all time in a Chinese brand, supporting, like, you know, the whole system of like branding, right? Like the lifestyle shoes, the gear. And on top of that, like, this just further proves my point. China has Anta stores all over the place. China has brand stores all over the place. People still go in and see the product. And when we talk to Jay, Shanghai Soul, he's always talking about how the Jordan stuff is always sitting, right? For the last few years, it's been like consistently just like nobody's buying any of that stuff.
And on sale, like immediately, he says. It's like, it goes on sale.
Yeah,
quick.
exactly. And we got to talk to him again about this Anta stuff, because I think he'd have some really cool insight on it. But to me,
Sure.
those stores, like, even if you lose money as a store, as a brand like that, it's just a marketing expense. You just have to figure out how to make it a marketing expense and have that be a piece of the puzzle to build your kind of holistic picture of your brand. And I feel like Nike tried to like cut corners to get to the point of D2C, and especially with basketball, right? Like, think about how many times, you know, 5-10 years ago, we would have never bought a new basketball shoe without going into the store and seeing it. Like, we knew that we would always find colorways eventually of something. Yeah, you might, if you want a colorway like a Nerf collab or some, you know, LeBron, you know, like Dion colorway, you'd have to just go after that shoe. But almost every other shoe ends up in a place where you can actually see it in person, try it on, or even some places hoop in it. And I wonder how much that impacts, you know, the bigger picture here in America, because like the technology that Jacques was showing on his Instagram recently, where it's like adaptable, like carbon shank plates in the shoes, like that's what Nike Adapt should have been doing. Like, that's what Nike Adapt should have evolved to, is those kind of performance oriented aspects of the design. And that's what we would have expected from Nike 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago when they were founded. And I feel like they just kind of lost the direction at some point. And, you know, like, rightfully so in a lot of ways, right? You had the Yeezy era, then you had the Virgil era, and then you had Travis Scott, where it's like, wow, we can make a ton of money off of hype without having to innovate. But at the end of the day, like, this whole social experiment of lack of innovation for the past, you know, 8 to 10 years, and I don't mean like that they aren't progressing in some ways, but I mean like a focus on it, is clearly like the reason that they're bringing somebody back to the CEO position from the old days, in my opinion, to like refocus the brand on like everyone is an athlete, right? That doesn't align with anything they've done in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, a Nike marketing rep will look at you square in the face right now and been like, "We've been innovating the entire time." So like, my little point is,
and they have to a certain extent, but like,
they're lying.
But
All right, show me.
But the innovation is so small, right? Like the innovation that we expect as consumers is adapt, is hyper, is hyper dunks, is Flyknit, all these things that change the course of the entire sphere of sneakers from Nike. And now they're not doing that now in any way.
So there's no reason why another brand like Anta can't go through this phase. I mean, Rome is the best example. Constantinople is another example. Shit burns down and goes away. I mean, like, it does eventually. Nothing lasts forever. At one point, Phil Knight looked at Adi Dazzler and said, "You know what? I'm gonna beat this guy's shoes." Like it happens through time. Every industry. Like, I can't think of Apple's trying to run the gauntlet and like do it forever, but like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where another brand's like, all right, I'm going to make new product and I'm going to innovate and I'm going to get an American player and I'm going to have a Kai Tribe for $130 that looks really good and probably has some really cool. I know I watched Shock's video. Like the foam and like the rubber isn't normal rubber. It's softer. Like if they can innovate a vulcanized looking rubber sole and have it be
comfortable,
hell yeah, I'm into that. And like this Kai Tribe shoe is like perfect for the type of person I see in Portland all the time who's just wearing other things. Their style is just other. Like they don't want to have a big swoosh. They don't want to have 3 stripes on them. They also don't want technical running shoes. Think of somebody who's a grown ass man still wearing all black DCs, right? Maybe you're a little unhinged. Maybe you need some mental health help. I don't know. But like, the Kai Tribe is the all black.
I'm definitely
DC
wearing
shoe.
all black DCs tomorrow.
Right?
I was like, I feel like you were calling out Nick for some reason. Like he's like, wait a minute, I got a
Fat
couple
laces
of those.
too. Criminal mentality. But like that person can vary, and like DCs aren't cheap. Like if you're getting got at DC, you're still paying like $100 for a pair of DCs. Rob Dyrdek is going to get that money one way or another. So like, the $130 Kai Tribe that has no real branding to it. Maybe you know who Kyrie Irving is, but you don't know sports. You're like, yeah, I fuck with that guy because he's contrarian, and I am too. Like, there's whole levels to why people would want to connect to a product like this, and that's awesome.
You know what's crazy?
It could be their time, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, definitely. I feel like it's not going to be one brand that jumps out in front. I feel like all the brands, if they're basically pulling a. Nike was Debo from Friday, and all these other brands are Craig with a brick. Like, they literally are like, hey, we're tired of you. Like, we may not be coming, like, number one, like, a pure number one, but we're going to come around and, like, just knock you out for a second so we can get a bit of market share just to make you have to do better to get back to where you were. Because, I mean, look at this. So everyone's doing their China tour right now, right? So everyone is. So you have Kyrie, who people love his product, even after his, stumble, mouth wouldn't shut up for a while. Like, he's saying some weird things. Just didn't think before he spoke. That's what I should say. Didn't think before he spoke, and kind of got pushed to the side for a moment, and no one wanted anything to do with him. He's clearly redeemed himself, and now people are in love with everything he's putting out with Anta. Got that. Steph Curry, who Curry brand under Under Armour, which is traditionally not the shoe that's going to be, everyone wants this shoe. He took his monster moment from the Olympics and has capitalized for this Curry 12. Has been on fire. They've come out with 3 colorways, I think, and then a couple of other things for his China tour. Flotro 4 has sold out already. I think there's very minimal sizes left of the 12 that's in that purple and like super cool like pearlescent colorway on the midsole. But guess what? Jordan Brand brought other athletes out there. Every single one of those shoes is sitting there. People are like, I don't care. I don't care about Luka's shoe. I don't care about even though he's a champion. What's his name? I really can't think of his name right now. Tatum.
Yeah.
I don't care about his shoe.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Go ahead, Robbie.
No, just not just that, but then they released the De'Aaron Fox look and the new logo.
Yeah.
That shoe's awesome.
That shit looks amazing.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the beauty of all this, right? Like, I don't want to like wish failure upon any of the companies or any of the like people that work at any of these companies, but competition makes it better for consumers all the time,
Exactly.
right? We could talk about any different era of sneakers that would be our favorite, and we could probably find things that were like crazy competitive, right? Like 94 retro Jordans are coming out and Reebok is making fucking Pump Furies and people are like, what the fuck is this? Like like that's a beautiful moment of like chaos of two companies just going head to head. Same thing for, you know, like the Agassi and Michael Chang, and like there's so many moments of that, and I think we haven't had that for so long. Like we got to a little bit of it in the last like maybe 18 months with like the Panda Dunks and the Sambas, right? But that's like two shoes that are super basic, simple, you know, like everyone can wear those shoes. Honestly, if it wasn't for sneaker, you know, memes and the internet, I feel like a black and white Samba or a white and black Samba and a black and white Dunk are like kind of just staples that everybody probably should own because it's an easy shoe to wear, right?
Well,
but like I know that the
battle...
internet took over that and was like, worst shoe ever is Panda Dunks, and it's like, dude,
that's
you were not around for the worst shoes ever if you think a Panda Dunk is the worst shoe ever.
Well, I think the last real battle that we got was Flyknit Racer / Trainer, Adidas Ultra Boost. That was amazing because you got two things that were innovative, two things that were different, and they look good. I don't care what anybody says. Both those shoes are fantastic looking to this day, and you can still wear them to this day. But after that, it kind of went. Nothing was happening because at that point you had everything Yeezy, and that's what all Adidas was producing. And then you had, I guess at that point, Travis Scott starting to creep in, and that's all you started getting released at that.
Yeah. All right, so I got a question to wrap up this episode. Robbie mentioned East Bay, obviously like near and dear to my heart, doing all sorts of work for them throughout my career. Them being shut down, you know, they obviously didn't have stores. They did have like a kind of employee store in Wausau, Wisconsin, but like didn't have actual stores, right? But Foot Action, also owned by Foot Locker, did have stores all over the country, and recently, you know, in the last year or two, had them all shut down. My question for you guys and for the audience is which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of situation? Did Nike set the dominoes in place by saying they're going to pull back from the middlemen out there and close down the mom and pops and like pull back from Foot Locker? Or were those like stores like Foot Action destined to kind of shut down for some other reason?
I would say they saw the wave. Here's a good analogy. They saw the wave forming, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to ride that wave. The wave being retail dying, right? Everything being online. You're seeing Golden Spoon. You're seeing Bear Mattress. You're seeing all these companies, Peloton, be direct to consumer. You're like, you know, I'm going to ride the wave. And the wave just happened to close a little early, and you fall on your ass. So, like, it was the right move. The wave looks good. You're like, oh, I'm going to get on this wave. I'm going to ride this. And then just like sometimes the barrel closes and you get shut out. That's my answer.
Yeah, I feel like I need to learn how to surf now.
Like, man, well, I'm kind of caught in between that because I feel like Robbie's 100% right. They saw the wave of retail shutting down. Malls are shutting down like everywhere. They look abandoned in a lot of places. But also, I feel like there was a knee-jerk reaction to Nike saying, hey, we're going to start pulling the plugs. So they're like, okay, well, you don't have to worry about Foot Action. Just give it Foot Locker all the shoes, you know? So I feel like it was a little bit of both because now they're not spread so thin. Now, okay, Foot Locker can have all the quote-unquote high-heat product, which whatever Nike deemed that to be for them. They didn't have to worry about Foot Action because I remember back in the day, I worked at Champs, but I would walk over to Foot Action, use my employee discount there because they had the cooler stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So they were definitely the cooler store back in the day, but it was easier for them to shut those down because that was more Foot Action was more the urban store. So you had those more in a less. That's what they call it. If you look at the breakdown,
you said it, not me. I mean, I was like, how do I delicately say this?
No, Foot Action was the one that you would see in black neighborhood malls. You had more Foot Actions because they had like the Levi account. They had like the
Fat Farm.
not Fat Form. What was?
I mean, they got way more of the Jordan apparel stuff than anywhere else.
100%. If you want it closed, you want to get the fit off. You go to Foot Action. But with those malls closing, like for example, Greenspoint Mall here in Houston, Foot Action was the bigger shoe store. That whole mall shut down now.
Interesting.
So it was just a lot of dominoes in place, a lot of things that had to be checked off for, I guess, the perfect storm to happen.
All right.
Or for the wave to crash.
The barrel to close. Oh, man, that was a good one. All right, listeners, let us know what you think. I'll put this in the Discord when this show goes live. If you want to, we'll comment. We'll throw some short videos up on the Instagram account. Let us know what you think of this conversation, any of the topics, but specifically, like, I would love to know what everybody thinks. Like, was retail just going to die anyway? Or, like, it's just a weird thing because I feel like the last thing I'll say about it, I feel like retail done right, I don't know, maybe ALD or Kith, maybe that's too high level, but like that experience has a wow factor to it. And the mall stores never did that. And it sounds like we're going to get back to a point where Foot Locker may try to, like Mike said, House of Hoops, once the House of Hoops start closing, you start losing energy. You don't get the cool products or the cool stories in there. I don't know, man. But anyway, guys, let them know how they can find you outside of the show.
You can find me here always, of course. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789. And, of course, you can find me on YouTube at Mike Guillory.
You can find me beating Clint's sweet cheeks in fantasy football. And you can also find me at RAHBEE702.
You can find me at Nick Engvall on all the platforms. More importantly, follow at Sneaker History. If you're on Threads, hop over there. I've been posting pretty regularly on there. If not, make sure you hit the first link in the description. It'll get you into the Discord. A lot of good people in there, a lot of great conversations, especially around this John Donahoe subject. So hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
See ya. Real Diddy-like of you, Robbie.
Hey, Nick here again. Before you take off, I want to thank you for listening to the Sneaker History Podcast. Be sure to hop into our Discord to answer this episode's The Last Shot question and get to know our community of sneaker enthusiasts. If you'd like more insights on the trending topics in the sneaker world, I've also recently started a newsletter to share my knowledge from nearly 2 decades of experience working in the footwear industry. You can find the link to that below or go to sneakerhistory.com/newsletter. And last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to be on the receiving end of some appreciation. Thank you for all the support, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.